Iranians. Over 2/3 of the population of the world consists of coloured people, blacks. That is a ratio of 2.1. 2 out of Noah's 3 sons remained black. Is there any evidence that they come out of the ark and they were black? No. We don't believe so. But if they migrated from those cold areas, Armenia, that particular mountain where the ark landed, very, very cold, as people have gone up there to find it, to have a look at it, and lost their lives. They climbed the mountain and lost their lives, etc., etc. Very, very cold up there. Go watch the videos of them scouring that particular mountain. So maybe they were of a certain colour to start off with, and then as they migrated away from those cold areas, chasing animals or whatever, they came to hotter places. Their skin had to adapt to that great heat, so eventually it became darker, possibly. Yeah, because there are also Libyans living in the African area that were white. Check out the history. These are the things you've got to look at. Yeah, don't just go, oh yeah, they're all black because somebody says. You know, you could be leading you down the wrong path by saying, oh yeah, everyone's black. Moses, Jesus, God, everyone's black. Be very careful there. Yeah, so many of the people throughout Africa, Asia, Latin America and the islands in the Pacific Ocean are yellow, brown or black. They have facial features like the Negroid, less commonly called Congoid. Africans, especially the Vietnamese, Filipinos, the people of India, they are a mixture of black Dravidians and Indo-Europeans. Yeah, because they mixed, right? They integrated, they migrated, they hooked up with somebody else, and they had these offsprings, these hybrids. Thailanders, Burmese, Indonesians, Guineans, Sumatrans, and the Aborigines of Australia, etc. There was an Indo-European invasion, Germanic, of the Middle East between the years 2000 to 1500 BC. These Germanic tribes intermingled with the black people everywhere they travelled. This mingling made the people in Syria, Babylon, Assyria, Persia, India and parts of Arabia much lighter in complexion. Now the colour of the people in the region ranges from brown to yellow. Well, that's what you have to prove, right? That they were first black and these other people came in and then made them pale or olive colour or whatever because of their intermixing. You have to prove that, right? The Greek and Roman invasions also made these people in the Middle East lighter. Another fact that we should not forget is that the Moors and Arabs from North Africa captured and molested European women. As a result, the North Africans became lighter, so they became, there's this claim that first it was all the black people and then they intermingled with these other people and they became albinos, all that sort of stuff. Another fact we should not forget is that the Moors and Arabs from North Africa captured and violated European women. As a result, the North Africans became lighter. At one time, these people in North Africa and the Middle East were all black. Whites have intermingled their blood with blacks in Asia, Africa and the Western Hemisphere. In spite of this, the coloured people of the world control about 3/4 of the Earth's geographical location or area. Yeah, but you've got to understand as well, yeah, you have these supposed Africans, right? They come out of their hot climate, looking for somewhere cooler. They come across these pre-Adamites, these cavemen, etc., that were bigger, slower, still intelligent, and they chased animals, ran miles trying to catch an animal, or this sort of stuff, and they intermingled with them, and then eventually they bred them out. It could be that way as well. Don't just like go, oh, there's one side of the coin, that's all. There's two sides to every coin, right? So you've got to like look at that. Got to do the research, all that sort of stuff. Because we weren't there when God created everybody and says, oh yeah, it's a black man. He created the black man first. Okay? And you can't say, oh no, it's a white man. He created a white man first because he's ruddy. Which means, according to the Christian, what do you call them? Christian identity, oh yeah, that's the white man. The white man was first and then the other was made as a slave. All this sort of stuff, meant to serve him, all that sort of rubbish. When ruddy, Yeah, it means red, but it means like you have this great complexion. The King David had this great complexion, like he was healthy. That's what it's meaning in the Hebrew. It's not saying, oh yeah, he was made a red man or white man specifically. Abraham was the patriarch of the 12 tribes of Israel, and Abraham's father Terah came from the land of Ur of the Chaldees. Genesis 11:26-28. The land of Ur of the Chaldees was located at the southern part of Euphrates. That's correct, but not necessarily black. Look at the ancient, very, very ancient wall reliefs, the carvings, etc. You know, the ones where they've got watches and purses and all that sort of stuff. They might have a darker hue, but they're not necessarily African or black. The Chaldees were one of many Cushite tribes. Cush means black. Does it? We can always ask if Cush means black. It may not. Okay. Cush, the name of a son of Ham, apparently the oldest of a territory or territories occupied by his descendants. Let's go ask, does Cush mean black? Okay. Because obviously the ones in Africa were Cushites. These ones that are from result of their hybrids from the descendants of Cush in Mesopotamia going to these African regions and intermarrying with them and having these hybrids. Okay, so Cush with a K. That's how you tell the difference. So let's ask the question: does Cush mean black? The term Cush is Hebrew, and its derivative such as Cushi or Cushi Hebrew are primarily geographical and ethnic terms referring to the ancient kingdom of Cush with a capital K. See, there's a difference there, right there. Located south of Egypt, largely corresponding to the modern-day Nubia and Sudan. While the term itself does not directly mean black, it has been historically associated with dark-skinned people due to the appearance of the inhabitants of that region, the kingdom of Cush, in modern-day Nubia and Subia. The association of Cush with dark skin is evident in several ancient texts and interpretations. The Egyptians, Assyrians, and Greeks consistently depicted Cushites with black skin pigmentation. For instance, the Assyrian king Esarhaddon described Tahako, a Cushite king, and his royal family as dark as pitch. The Greeks referred to Cushites as Aethiops, meaning burnt of face, which also points to their dark complexion. So this is probably would translate as the Ethiopians. In the Hebrew Bible, there are clear indications of the association. Jeremiah 13:23 famously asks, "Can the Cushite change his skin, or the leopard its spots?" This rhetorical question directly links the Cushite with a distinctive, unchangeable skin colour, implying a dark hue, not necessarily black. Isaiah 18:2 also refers to Nilotic Cushites. What's Nilotic? As being both tall and smooth, with smooth often interpreted as describing their smooth, shiny skin. Additionally, some midrashic interpretations, such as Genesis Rabbah 36:7, suggest that Cush, the son of Ham, was cursed by his grandfather Noah to be dark-skinned. Is that for real, or is that just mythological, or a false claim, pseudepigraphic? In early modern Hebrew, Cushi was used as a neutral term for dark-skinned or red-haired person. However, in contemporary usage, particularly in Israel, the term Cushi is generally regarded as a racial slur, comparable to derogatory terms for black people in other languages. This shift in perception highlights how a term initially rooted in geographical and ethnic identification and later associated with physical characteristics can evolve, blah blah blah. It is important to note that while Cush primarily refers to the region south of Egypt, some interpretations suggest a broader geographical scope. The book of Esther 1:1 mentions Ahasuerus, that's probably Xerxes, ruling from Hodu to Kush, leading to discussions among scholars about whether there was an Asian Kush near India in addition to the African Kush. However, the most common and biblically supported understanding of Kush, especially in relation to physical characteristics, points to the African land of Nubia, Sudan, and its dark-skinned inhabitants. And right up here, the kingdom of Kush with a K, or Kushi. Okay, so we're going to ask, was there biblically a land of Kush in Mesopotamia as well as Sudan. Okay. As well as the Sudan. Okay, we just got to find the other country. We've forgotten what the other country was. Was there biblically a land because Noah's son's descendant was Cush? And they were in the specific region at that time, so they must have migrated to a hotter area, and these people there had a darker hue, and then they integrated with them. So you get the Cushite. Okay, we just got to check what the other one was. Okay, African land of Nubia and Sudan. Nubia and Sudan. We just get that question. See what it says. Yes, biblically there is evidence suggesting a land of Cush in Mesopotamia, as well as the more commonly recognized land of Cush in the Nubian Sudan region. The biblical narrative, particularly in the book of Genesis, presents a complex picture of Cush. Cush is identified as the oldest son of Ham and a grandson of Noah, and its descendants are listed in Genesis 10:6-8. This passage is part of the Table of Nations, which outlines the ancestral origins of various peoples and regions. The primary association of Cush in the Bible is with the territory south of Egypt, often identified with the ancient kingdom of Cush with a K, or Ethiopia, located in modern-day Sudan. This region, known as Nubia, was an early cradle of civilization along the Nile Valley. It became the Egyptians, right? They ended up being the Egyptians, or taking over, right? Egyptian records from as early as the 21st century BC refer to a Nubian region as Kash with a K, which is believed to be the origin of the Hebrew name Cush. Josephus, a 1st century historian, explicitly states that the Ethiopians, referring to the people of the kingdom of Cush with a K in modern Sudan, were called Cushites. The Cushitic languages are also named after this biblical figure. However, the biblical text also provides connections to Mesopotamia. Genesis 10:8-10 states that Cush was the father of Nimrod, who began to be a mighty one on the earth, and whose kingdom included Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. These cities are all located in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. Used to be Iraq was Erech, wasn't it? This direct lineage linking Cush to the founder of Mesopotamian cities suggests a Mesopotamian connection for at least a branch of Cush's descendants. Biblical scholar Kevin Burrell argues that Cush in the Table of Nations could be identified with Meluhha, a place name that initially referred to a region east of Mesopotamia but later became equated with the territory of Kush with a K in Nubia, starting from the mid-2nd millennium BC. Burrell suggests this explains both Kush's Mesopotamian connections through Nimrod and the Nubian origin of its name, Kush with a K. Furthermore, some scholars like Professor Francis Brown have suggested that the term Kushites in the Bible refers to both African and Asiatic peoples, with the latter potentially being identified with the Kassites, an ancient people of Mesopotamia. Brown believes that the Kushites mentioned in the book of Genesis, such as Nimrod, were Asiatics, based on contextual information. Archaeological, such as Jerusalem, has also supported the Asiatic theory. Therefore, while the most prominent biblical and historical identification of Cush is with the region south of Egypt, Nubia, Sudan, the biblical narrative itself, particularly through the figure of Nimrod and scholarly interpretations, suggest a Mesopotamian connection for some descendants of Cush, indicating a presence or influence in that region as well. Okay, so there you go. There's two Cushes. One with the sea, the descendant of one of Noah's grandsons, who his descendants then migrate to somewhere else, a hotter region. They meet these darker people, they interact with them, intermarry, have children, they become this new tribe, extended tribe. Cushites with a K, of Nubia, the Sudan. So there's two differences there, according to this AI. Okay? Because Noah and his sons, etc., were in that particular area in the Middle East, Mesopotamia, etc., or even Armenia, or they wandered into Mesopotamia, or whatever. Okay, so it doesn't prove that they were black. Okay, in a cold area of Ararat, freezing cold, you're going to be putting on furs and all that sort of stuff. Okay, but then eventually they go, well, this is too freaking freezing here. Let's wander over there and find a hotter region. So they go there and their skin has got to adapt to that immense heat. Okay? So they're probably going to be under trees and all that sort of stuff, and then their skin gets used to that heat. It develops, it evolves, so it can handle it.